So please join these programs and fulfill your educational aspiration.
Hello learners, welcome in this session on research proposal and report writing. In this session, we are going to discuss the important elements of research proposal and report writing. In this discussion, we have with us Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Faculty of Psychology, School of Social Sciences. This topic is very important in present day. As you all know that NEP 2020 focus on developing research culture in higher education institutions by incorporating research in UG and PG programs. Dr. Ashwini, just tell me the basic question raised by the learners is, what is research? Just throw some light on research. What is research?
Thank you so much, sir, for raising these questions. And this is very pertaining questions whenever we do any program. Now in these days, NEP is very focusing upon the research component. The reason behind this research component is to develop scientific temperament. You know that any time whenever we talk about the growth of discipline, the development of discipline, it's depend upon the creation of knowledge within the discipline. And this creation of knowledge could not be possible without having any research components. So the NEP came up with the idea that this research should be there at the very initial level from the graduation onward till PhD level. So all the programs that are running right now in line with the NEP 2020 have some kind of research component. And definitely you have raised a very good questions like how we understand about the research. When we interact with the undergraduate students, it usually comes like the student is having certain kind of fear about this term research. Like it is a very big things. It cannot be happen within the at the undergraduate level, and it is a matter of PhD. But research is not like this. We should understand first that what research is all about. Research is first, I would like to clear about the notion that generally students carry about the research. They think like research is something which is called innovation, something which is novel. Definitely it is there, but research is at the undergraduate level, at any level, we can say research is a kind of process that we follow in a scientific manner. So when we define research, we say it's a scientific observation. Scientific observation, it's a process of scientific investigation as well. So whenever we say as the scientific investigation, there is something that we also discuss. Like in day-to-day life, we have a nature, like in human being, we have a nature like we always observe different people. And because of the complexity in the environment, we always try to simplify it. In order to simplify, because we have a good number of bombardment of information at any moment of time. and we try to make it more simpler, and we do certain kind of research. But this investigation is a common investigation. It's not a scientific investigation. Here we are talking about the scientific investigation that we do under the research domain. So in the simplest word, I personally like one definition which is called research is an art of scientific investigation. The art comes with the ability, aptitude that you have. Once you know about the term research in a very simplest way, you will realize that this is not a big thing, that it is a very simple thing that we can carry it out, and it should be the part of curriculum. Like research is not an outcome, it's a process. And when we talk about the process, then definitely there would be a step-by-step process. And that we discuss under the research domain.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. In very simple language and word, you define the concept of research. You rightly said that research is discovering or new fact and verification or old fact. You also use the word scientific temperament, and you beautifully defined the word scientific temperament. You also use the word scientific observation. So, Dr. Ashwini, how a scholar is going to know that the research he is doing is quality research? So, what are the points he have to observe that though he know that the research he is doing is a quality research?
Yes. So for this, we would like to emphasize three major points that generally we consider about the quality of research. What is the common notion among the scholars, among the researcher, that it's not a positive notion, it's a negative notion kind of things. If there is a research is not coming with the good or innovative result, that they consider that this research is not good. This research is very not up to the mark. Always a researcher try to make a research very effective, very novel. And this is not the goal of research. Research is something that we follow the step and we hardly depend upon the outcomes. So as you ask one questions like how do we decide that what would be the quality of research and how we determine that the research is the research is good or bad or the quality of research. There are three indicators for it. So the three indicators are, one is the how much your research is logical. Then the second one is empirical, and the third one is replicable. So these three things can be taken into consideration whenever we examine the quality of research. Let me briefly explain about these three terms. When we talk about the logical things, means whatever the research has been carried out, they must have followed the certain steps as we have discussed just before. That research is all about the process. So this step is followed by the researcher is logical enough or not. Means we do various things like we select sample, we do analysis. So in any moment of time, there would be a good number of options we have, and we have opted one of them. So why we have taken certain kind of sample, why we have taken certain kind of design, that makes logical of the research. So if the research is logical enough at every stages of the research, then it would be more effective. The second one is empirical. Empirical does not mean always that the research should have some data. Empirical does not mean the research should always be quantitative. The quality and the quantity is definitely one of the part, but empirical means the evidences. How much evidences you support within the research, it's determined whether you have an empirical support or not. And the third one is replicable. Replicability somehow we ignore. Means you have carried out certain research at any level, and the other researchers who want to verify your research, they would not be able to complete or verify it once again, then your research is not good enough. So it should be replicable. Means it can be replicated, it can be repeated once again whenever the researcher want to verify or modify at any moment of time. So these are the three indicators that we should keep in mind whenever we go for to check the quality of research.
Okay. Thank you, Ashwini, for such an elaborative talk on research. Now, as you all know, the NEP 2020 focus on just creating a research-oriented culture among the universities. Now, they are incorporating research in UG and PG program. So, what do you think? How relevant is introducing research in UG program? Just throw some light on the relevance of incorporating research in UG programs. What do you think?
Yeah, you rightly mentioned about it, as we have mentioned at the beginning, that the research basically is something that gives you a scientific temperament. So this temperament should develop at the initial stage. If it is not developed at the initial stage, it would be very problematic, or not problematic, but not very comfortable at the PhD level. Generally, what we do in the practice, that we start some kind of research at the master level, at the end of the master level, or maybe in the second year of the master level. Then we pursue PhD, and we think about the research can be emerged as a good. It should be started at the beginning, because the temperaments, the development, and the culture that we need to make a good research is required at the very initial stage. And as far as the notion and the research can only be the means through which we can contribute for the discipline. Means if you want to contribute something for the discipline, like there's for academics, like we for us, we have two basic goals of academician. Like one is the dissemination of knowledge, and the second one is creation of knowledge. Definitely by this event we are disseminating the knowledge, but what about creation of knowledge? Creation of knowledge could only be possible with the help of research. And this research should not be introduced at the higher level. Otherwise, the quality must be compromised. So NEP came up with the idea that the components should be introduced at the beginning level. Their quality should be maybe enhanced at the passage of time with the different level. But the basic ingredients should introduce to the learner at the UG level, so that they would be more familiar at the master level to do quality research, and more effective at the PhD level. And ultimately, once they reach to the PhD level, they would be in position to do something for their discipline, to contribute for the discipline, and ultimately it will reflect in the society, and their applications reflect in the society.
थैंक यू अश्वनी, बहुत ही कम शब्दों में आपने बताया कि क्या रिसर्च की महत्ता है अपने यूजी प्रोग्राम्स में. नाउ वी ऑलरेडी टॉक अबाउट द रिसर्च. आपने डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, बता दिया कि रिसर्च द डिस्कवरिंग ऑन न्यू फैक्ट एंड वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ ओल्ड फैक्ट. Since we are from social science backgrounds, in UG and PG programs we have to make a dissertation. So now just tell us something about the steps of research. What are the important things a researcher should keep in mind while defining a research? So means, what are the steps of research?
Okay. So definitely there, as we mentioned just before, like research is a scientific investigation, and we do a scientific investigation means step by step process we follow. So whenever we say step by step, following the step by step process, there are certain things that we should keep in mind. And what are the steps that we should keep in mind? What are the steps we have in the research process? I'm just briefly explaining you that what are the steps that we. So the first start with the selection of problem. Definitely, if you don't have the problem, you would not pursue your research work. Problem does not mean always a kind of problem that we find in our day-to-day life. Problem is a kind of questions that we raise. Like whether who would be the more effective, who has a more mathematical ability within the male or female, which state of the country has more emotional intelligence. All these questions are the questions that we raise at the beginning, and later on we start the process. So the first step is the selection of problem. Then we identify the variables, and then we go for the introduction and literature review. The literature review is one of the components that we do, and further steps are there, like after literature review we formulate hypotheses, then we go for the method. In method we have numerous things that we consider, like selection of samples, sampling technique, design, procedures, then data collection, data analysis, then interpretation of the data, then conclusion, discussion, and everything we write in a step by step manner, in a very concise and very precise manner. And everywhere the steps are fixed and very formative. The reason behind this step by step process, or the common process, is like this. Whatever research you do in your locality, means let's say whatever the research you are doing in India, how the persons or scholars, those who are living in some other country, should understand your work that you have done. So there should be some uniformity across the globe. If the uniformity would maintain, then anyone can read your research work very effectively. So in order to maintain the uniformity, the systematic process has been there, and it is came into existence, and definitely all researchers follow their steps.
Dr. Ashwini, you rightly said the first step is the selection of the problem. देखिए जो पहला समस्या बच्चों को आती है, selection of the problem. To how to select the problem, what are things they have to keep in mind while selecting the problem, और वो कैसे जानेंगे कि इस टॉपिक में पहले से स्टडी नहीं हुई है, क्योंकि पहला ही स्टेप अगर गलत हो जाएगा तो whole research will be going to be faulty and defective. So what important thing they have to keep in mind while selecting the problem? Just throw some light on it.
Okay, so whenever the researchers try to identify research problem, there are numerous things that they should keep in mind. Before going to that, the basic ingredient of selection of problem, first of all, they should identify their area of interest. If their area of interest is not matching with in line with the selection of topic, that maybe damage the quality of research at the later stage. So because your interest would give you opportunity to go into deeper. Definitely, if you define your area, like suppose I'm from the psychology background, my area of interest is positive psychology, or let's say clinical psychology. So in particular domain, particular divisions, if you know the contemporary researches, what's going on in contemporary time, that would give you a kind of insight to select your problem. In order to know the contemporary research, you will have to go to the component which is called literature review. So reviewing the literature review, maybe those who are not from the research background may be not familiar with the term. Literature review is something that we gives opportunity to review the work that has been carried out till now. And when the researcher goes through all researches has been carried out in the past, they definitely would argue with their own understanding, intellect, like what is lacking the particular research. And every research has certain kind of limitation. They write at the end of the research. And this limitation of researches gives opportunity for the further researcher to identify research problem, execute those limitations in your study, and make new topic for you. So selection of topic first defined upon the area of interest, then gradually we go for the identification of variables. Once we define the variable, once we identify the variable, it would be easy to make a topic or to identify the researches which are carried out on those area or not. Because the reason is simply, like in any topic, there are good number of researches has been already carried out. And this is a very big dilemma for the researcher to on what topic I should do my research, because every topic has been already covered by the researchers. But as I mentioned just before, like no one research is complete. There is a limitation of every researcher. So once the researcher goes into dive into the literature, they would be in position to know about the gap of research, and these gap of researches can be taken into consideration when they go for the selection of problem.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. You rightly said that why we do research, what are the steps we have to follow in mind while doing the research. जो सेकंड महत्वपूर्ण सवाल जो लर्नर्स के मन में आता है, रिव्यू लिटरेचर, जो आपने बात की, तो मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है रिव्यू लिटरेचर का, क्यों रिव्यू लिटरेचर करते हैं? और कहीं आपने देखा, हम बोलते हैं इंटरनेशनल स्टडीज भी कोट करिए, तो क्या लगता है आपको कि रिव्यू लिटरेचर क्यों किया जाता है, उसका मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स क्या है रिव्यू लिटरेचर का?
बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सवाल आपने पूछा है, और जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि लिटरेचर रिव्यू हम पहले भी करते हैं सिलेक्शन ऑफ प्रॉब्लम के समय, और वी ऑल्सो डू एट द टाइम ऑफ डूइंग रिसर्च. देयर आर 2 टाइम्स वेयर वी डू लिटरेचर रिव्यू. बट यहाँ महत्वपूर्ण ये है कि हम इसे समझें इस तरह से कि लिटरेचर रिव्यू का सिग्निफिकेंस क्या है, गोल क्या है. So the literature review basically gives you opportunity to know what's going on in your field that you have selected to do certain research on that area. So first you should know that whatever the researches you are trying to conceptualize or to conceive, it is at what stage it has been already done. If it is done at one level, then what would be the opportunity to do extensive research in that area as well? if there is a researches which has been carried out previously which has certain kind of limitation, that should also be addressed. So it can only be possible if you go through the literature review. So literature review has a variety of means. One is called systematic literature review, in which we target like at least 10 years back we should take some literature. There are different way through which we do researches. Whenever we go for the research identification, we go for the literature review, and we type certain topic on the Google Scholar. We try to identify which there are good number of literature appears, and again the questions arise within the scholars which article I should refer in my study. In the same wherever you will get a good number of researches which has been already carried out. So what sort of literature you should mention in your research? It is depend upon first the citation. Citation is also very important. The particular research which has more popular means the people has taken more consideration of those researches cited in their work. It means this work is very significant across the globe and the people are recognizing those researches, so it should be in part of your literature review. Apart from this, whatever the variable is demanding, whatever the research is demanding, accordingly you gather the previous study, and this previous study will help you to carry research further. So therefore we do research.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. Now the next question come in the minds of a learner is, what is research proposal basically? Basically we are discussing on the research proposal, research report writing. So throw some light on research proposal also. What is research proposal? In one word, how are you going to define research proposal?
Yeah, so word itself explanatory like proposal means you have to propose your research in front of the experts. So there is a process of research. Whenever you do certain research, there is a chances that you may not cover those things which are necessary, essential during the research. So what we do first, we go for the making a proposal. Means the proposal is a kind of document where we propose the research that we wanted to carry in future. So as simpler as the things like a trailer that we see. The trailer does not carry all the things, but a kind of glimpse that the play whenever the movie comes into the theater. So trailer gives you a glimpse, but it is a kind of summary. But proposal is something that what you want to do in your research, and this is the time where you take opinion from the expert. You present your things in a systematic manner. It comprises introduction, then definitely the title, introduction, literature review, hypothesis, and everything that we consider typically in the proposal. But this proposal basically it's your own idea and your own thoughts on carrying of research. But maybe there is a chance that you are lacking with something that has been addressed during the discussion. So research proposal is a plan, a blueprint, a kind of things that you formulate at the beginning of the research process, and you present it from in front of the experts, and experts gives opinion whether it is applicable or it is good or it is what sort of things need to be changed. So briefly, all the things we write in the proposal except three things. One is the result section. Definitely if you have not done research, how you can write?
Definitely.
Then discussion part, and definitely other conclusion and other parts. But the rest of the things we mention in the proposal, and accordingly the proposal evaluate, present in front of experts, and experts gives their opinion. Accordingly, if they give any opinion which is good for the researchers, they modify it and further it present, and accordingly after the approval we go for the further studies. So research proposal is like this.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. बिल्कुल सही बोला कि it's just like a blueprint of a research. Research proposal क्या एक blueprint है research का, on the basis of which we go forward for the research. आपने hypothesis की बात की. Paliwal P. Young ने hypothesis को define किया है. Hypothesis is a tentative generalization, the validity of it remain to be tested. जिसको उपकल्पना भी हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं. और रिसर्चर के मन में बहुत सवाल रहते हैं हाइपोथेसिस को लेके कि विच हाइपोथेसिस दे आर गोइंग टू यूज इन देयर रिसर्च, और कुछ ऐसे भी होते हैं जिसमें वो हाइपोथेसिस यूज भी नहीं करते हैं.
So in the research basically we wanted to know that the hypothesis is very significant part of the research. very significant part of research, and it has different types like alternative hypothesis, null hypothesis, directive, non-directive. There are good number of things we do in the hypothesis. And hypothesis, as you rightly mentioned, it is a tentative statement. So whatever the problem we raised at the beginning, we give tentative statement about those problems, and we try to validate it, whether it is true or false. So it can be either null means we can say that there is no relation between the two, and then we go for the directional, non-directional. It depend upon the hypothesis depend upon the literature review. Whatever the literature has been carried out previously, accordingly we formulate hypothesis and make and try to make it testable for the further research.
Okay. Thank you, Ashwini, for throwing light on the hypothesis. So thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
We will try to discuss. We will discuss further after a short while of break.
Thank you.
We welcome you to join the bouquet of programs offered by the School of Humanities, the Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. The Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi is a mega university today. It was created by an Act of Parliament in 1985. It is the world's largest university with an enrollment of about 3.5 million current students and 3.2 million alumni. IGNOU has also been accorded the highest grade of academic excellence, A++, by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, or the NAC. Now, during your time at IGNOU as a learner, we will help you complete your program of study with world-class printed materials, audio and video programs. We have more than 35,000 academic counselors who will guide you till you complete your program of study. We also provide live interaction with your teachers at the headquarters via teleconferencing mode and live interactive radio counseling besides this, supported by regular TV and radio broadcasts. The School of Humanities was created in 1988, and we welcome you warmly to join any of our programs of study. IGNOU degrees, diplomas and certificates are recognized not only in the country but are also very well received across the globe. We look forward to your journey with us, and we welcome you once again. Now we shall talk about the postgraduate diploma in American literature, and its code is PGDAML. Now, the School of Humanities also offers 6 PG diplomas in various aspects of literature. Now, the postgraduate diploma in American literature, what it does, it sensitizes learners to different genres and aspects of American literature, such as the major American novelists and their works. Then we look at the major American dramatists. We look at the specificities of American poetry. How did it start? And we bring it up to the modern period. And lastly, we also look at something which is an integral part of the curricula in colleges and universities across the globe, which is literary theory and criticism. So we begin from classical times. We include romantic criticism, new criticism, feminist theories, deconstruction, and we come down to contemporary theories. The eligibility for the postgraduate diploma in American literature is a bachelor's degree or a higher degree from a recognized university. The medium of instruction is English. The duration is between 1 and 3 years. Your minimum period is 1 year, the maximum 3 years. And this program is offered in both the January and July cycles of admission. The fee is rupees 7,000 plus 300 rupees for registration at the time.
आपने बहुत ही विस्तृत तरीके से उपकल्पना के बारे में बताया और ये जनरली लर्नर्स का सवाल होता है कि हाउ टू फॉर्म द हाइपोथेसिस। एक जनरल सवाल लर्नर बेसिकली पूछते हैं कि वो कौन सी रिसर्च है जहाँ हाइपोथेसिस या उपकल्पना का प्रयोग नहीं होता है। May I request you to please elaborate on which research there is no need to develop hypothesis?
Thank you for asking these questions. Definitely, there are certain kind of research where we do not form hypothesis. Like there are two major kind of division of researches. There are approaches, you can say, or the steps that we follow. Like one is called inductive research, and then another one is called deductive research. So in inductive research, we induce something which mostly primarily goes with the qualitative methods. So qualitative research, we generally focus upon making a research question rather to make a hypothesis. Similarly, in deductive approach, where we deduce something. So from start, we make a hypothesis and we try to test it at the end of the study. So purpose is to make hypothesis in order to test them with the statistical evidences, and accordingly we try to make it possible to verify it whether the hypothesis is true or false. So as far as the type of the researches or the approaches that we apply, one is called inductive and the another was called deductive. So inductive itself enough to understand what inductive is all about. So inductive means to induce something, means inducing something which is not already available. So generally, to induce something, we go for the qualitative measures. There are different types of qualitative research design where we try to explain, to explore the things and try to make it more visible so that it can be introduced for the researchers. Like when we talk about any variables like happiness can be measured differently by the different researcher. When we talk about happiness, some things like the monetary wealth is enough for the happiness. Some people thinks like happiness, the monetary wealth is the indicator of happiness. If you have a good money in your account, you will be more happy. But it is not like that. There are different kind of indicators that we have. So how we came to the conclusion, like in order to identify, to verify, to assess the level of happiness, what are the elements we should have? So we go for the inductive research and we induce various kind of elements that should be there in order to understand the term happiness. So we came up with a different idea, like your level of adjustment should also one of the indicator, how much you are social person, how much you are effective in your workplace, how much you are satisfied with your personal life, professional life, occupational life and social life. All these comes under the indicators of measuring the one person as a level of happiness. How it comes, how it came into the existence? Because of the research, kind of research that we do, which is called inductive research. Similarly, in opposite to that, we have deductive research. In deductive research, we try to verify the data which is already available, or we try to make a hypothesis, like some hypothesis we can form, there is a common notion that mathematical ability can be more among the male as compared to female. So this kind of hypothesis we can form to test whether it is really there or not. In similar way, like we generally consider that the female are more verbal ability. Female have a more verbal ability as compared to the male. So therefore they can learn more language, they can speak very well as compared to the male. So whether it is there in our data or not, we formulate hypothesis and accordingly we test them. So the process that we are following, it is coming as a deductive approach. And in deductive approach, we formulate hypothesis, whereas in inductive approach, we do not form hypothesis. So this is the way through which we can easily understand where we should formulate hypothesis, where should avoid to form hypothesis.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. In very simple language and word, you clearly clarify the concept of hypothesis. We already discussed what is research. We talk about the selection of the problem. We talk about how to make research proposal. We talk about the hypothesis. Now the important thing come in mind is what is research methods. One is research design. As you all know, research design decides the fate of the proposer and its outcome. If design is faulty, whole research will be faulty and defective. So, what do you mean by research design, and how many types of research design are there in research? Please elaborate on this.
Okay, fine. So there are two terms, as you have mentioned just before, like one is research method and another one is research design. So somehow in one or the other way we see that we interchangeably use these words. Like sometimes we use research method, sometimes we use research design. But it is not like that. Both of them are separate from each other. Let me give you certain examples through which the learner can easily understand what it is, how it is different from each other. Research design is all about blueprint. Blueprint means whenever we talk about making a building, what we do? We consult our architecture, and architecture, what they do, they, as per the demand of your demand, they make a different layout of your land, and they try to make satisfied you. Like if you want four rooms, 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 kitchen, all these things as per your demand, they try to lay out in your land. So architecture has, and they build up the building accordingly. So they give you a kind of outline that your building would be like this. Similarly, in research, we also form a blueprint, and this blueprint is nothing but a research design. But at the same time, we also use the term research method. So in the very simplest way, I would like to mention, like research method is all about logistic, whereas the research design is all about logic. So logic and logistic. So in terms of understanding the research method and research design, let me give you one more example. It is very, it would be very easy to understand the concept. One is called when we cook food, then the recipe would be your design, and the preparation that we cook the food would be your method. How you cook the food, the process, entire process would be your method. Means the logistic that you apply, that would be the method. The recipe means the ingredient would be your method. But the logic part means your recipe would be your research design. So design is logic moreover, and the method is logistic. So in the same way in the research, we also do the same things. We first design, we make a blueprint of the research, and in order to get into the blueprint, we need certain kind of logistic, and whatever the logistic we use, like procedures, tools, selection, sample selection, sampling, data analysis, all these are the logistic, and these logistics make a research method. So with this, we can easily understand what research design is all about, what research method is all about. If you want to know more about the research design, I must be aware about these things in a later stage we can discuss.
Now let us discuss about the types of research design. As we know that we have descriptive, diagnostic, exploratory and explorative research design. आपने बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से जैसे रेसिपी एग्जाम्पल देकर समझाया, और आपने बिल्डिंग एग्जाम्पल दिया. When we construct the building, we just consider design. कि हम लोग का किचन कहाँ पर होगा, वो आपने बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से बताया. लॉजिस्टिक एंड लॉजिक की बात आपने की. Now let us talk about the types of research design, like descriptive, diagnostic, experimental. So throw some light on these types of research design.
Yeah, so in order to understand the concept of research design and its type of research design, let me first distribute our research into 3 categories. So moreover, we distribute entire research process into 3 different parts. One is called explanatory research, then we have descriptive research, then we have explanatory research. So in exploratory research, in exploratory research, we try to explore the things in a very effective manner, and accordingly we try to use a different kind of research design. Whereas in descriptive, we use different descriptive research design. Maybe description of a study would be enough for the descriptive studies. And then another one is explanatory, where we try to identify the causal relationship. So the experimental research design would comes under the explanatory research type of explanatory research. So like in descriptive, we use only descriptions of the study, whereas exploratory, we go for the qualitative research design. Correlation would comes under the descriptive somehow, And whenever we try to make some causal relationship means one variable is affecting the another variable in control condition, then we use experimental research design. Very popular experimental research design when we say the observation under control condition. So control condition is essential for making a research design which is experimental. And whenever the researcher want to establish the causal relationship, like because of the particular virus, the particular symptoms appears, because of the certain things, something appears, means other variables should be controlled. And to make the research explanatory, means we have to explain the research, then we use experimental research design. When we go for the exploration of the research, means something like, as I just mentioned before, like some of the variable which has not been explored too much, which just came into the attention of the researcher, and they want to explore it more in detail. Like as just I've given example like happiness. So happiness at the beginning of the time when we were not in position to quantify the level of happiness, then what sort of researches was carried out by the different researchers? Definitely they went through the researches which is called exploratory research, in which they explore the variable in a certain manner, where they came up with the idea like these are the indicators through which we can observe or assess the level of happiness. Similarly, there are various variables. Somehow when we non-social social science scholar, they say how we can measure those things which are qualitative in nature, how we can quantify which are qualitative in nature. But through the exploratory research, we basically are in position in such a way that we can give a certain type of indicators through which we can get some insight, and we can make it possible to assess those variables in effective manner. Similarly, so in broadly what I want to say, like there are three kind of researches, and these three types of researches indicates which kind of research design we should use. Like for exploratory, then we have descriptive, then explanatory. And somehow correlational research design is also there, where we use correlational research design, experimental research design, and there are numerous research design is there as per the demand of the research. As similar as the architecture can give you a different kind of layout of your same land, means same amount of land, but different kind of layout. Similarly, the researchers can have a different kind of research design, depend upon what objective they have, what goal they have to achieve, and what sort of investigation they want to carry in their research work. So accordingly, they decide about the different research design.
Thank you, Ashwini, for throwing light on the types of research design. You beautifully mentions all the types of research design. Now, let us talk about the sample and sampling procedure. देखिए ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण स्टेप है रिसर्च का, कि सैंपल कैसा हो कि हमारी जो भी रिसर्च फाइंडिंग है ऑथेंटिक निकले. तो वो सैंपल क्या होता है और व्हाट आर द सैम्पलिंग प्रोसीजर? तो प्लीज एलोबरेट ऑन दिस.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned about these two terms, sample and sampling. I will try to focus upon these two terms. Basically, as we know that the social science research is different from the core branch of science research. In the core branch of science of researches, we generally go for physical researches. What we do like in medical researches. Suppose we want to see whether some virus is there in your blood or not. We do not take entire blood from your body. We take 5 ml of blood, and the blood test would give you an entire result. And this entire result would be applicable for your body, and accordingly medicine prescribed by the doctor. So similarly, in the case of social sciences research, in the case of social science research, it is.
डॉक्टर सुनी, एक लर्नर हमारे फोन कर रहे हैं, मैं करता हूँ उसको आप जवाब देंगे.
बिल्कुल
प्लीज. लगता है किसी कारणवश मुझसे कनेक्ट नहीं हो पाया, तो सुनिए प्लीज कंटिन्यू.
So So for the social science research, it is not possible to take certain kind of people from particular locality and it to generalize to entire world, because the human being differ from person to person. But as far as the blood sample is concerned, it is uniform in entire body. From anywhere, if you take 5 ml of blood, it would be applicable to make prescribe a medicine. So similarly, but whenever we go for the social science research, selection of sample makes a very important role. How you collect the sample, you can't do research for entire population one at a time. Like let's say, let's take an example of postnatal depression, which is very popular. Means generally when the female delivered baby, this kind of depression usually experienced by the mother at the time of delivery, which is called postnatal depression. So suppose I want to know about the level of depression they experience after the delivering a baby. So suppose our population would be entire females who have just delivered the baby in across the globe. But as a researcher, is it possible to catch all the data at a limited amount of time? Maybe you have enough amount of time, you have enough resources at the same time. Do you think like everybody would engage you in order to give you response at any point of time? Maybe they would deny you to give their responses. Like if you approach them, they would say like, I'm already in depression. Why you are asking this kind of question? So researchers cannot reach each unit of the population. So this is the kind of limitation for the researcher and how they can do it. So as similar as we can't take all the blood of the body in order to test your blood report. So similarly in social science researches, we take a certain kind of sample and we extract certain kind of sample. Sample means we have to make a group of people out of the entire population. But again, these questions comes like on what way through which we select the sample. And the sample should be first representative of the population. Means whatever the you do, we make a one representative out of this. Like when we try to buy a kind of rice, we do not go into the each piece of rice. We only see that the quality of rice is good or bad. Similarly, we need a representative of the population that are coming under your research. And how do we select those sample? It's a method that is called sampling technique. So sampling technique is the way through which we elect or select the sample. So there are good number of divisions. One is called probability sampling and another one is called non-probability sampling. There are two major divisions of technique. The sampling technique is nothing but is a technique through which we select the sample from the population. And the sample is nothing but it's a representative of the population. We try to select the sample which is representative of entire population. But we know that as being a human, if you are a researcher, there is always a biasness that we commit any point of time. So in order to reduce this biasness, we use a different kind of sampling technique whatever it is applicable. So major division of the technique of the sampling technique is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. The name suggests that the probability sampling means that each unit has equal chances to select in the sample, wherein non-probability sampling, all unit has no equal opportunity. It's depend upon the researcher, maybe as per the demand of the research, maybe like purposive sampling, accidental sampling, they go and visit in a particular domain. Like let's say you are doing a research on criminal behavior and you know that the criminals could not appear, like they would not welcome you with open arm, आइए और मेरा research मेरे से data लीजिए. It would not be possible. So whenever you get opportunity like snowball sampling, you generally go ask to just tell me about your friend and any researches that you are doing which has a very limited population which cannot be easily accessible. So we do not go for the probability sampling. So we generally go for the non-probability sampling as per the purpose of the researches. We select the sample and we accordingly process for. So in probability sampling, again, there are a good number of different sampling design, like random sampling design, systematic random, stratified random sampling. Then a good number. Similarly, in non-probability sampling design technique, we have.
अच्छा डॉक्टर अश्विनी, एक हमारे कोई लर्नर सवाल पूछना चाह रहे हैं, तो प्लीज आप.
हाँ, प्लीज अपना क्वेश्चन पूछिए.
नमस्कार डॉक्टर साहब, डॉक्टर अशोक शर्मा दिस साइड फ्रॉम इग्नू रीजनल सेंटर दिल्ली 3.
नमस्कार.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Yes, you are audible.
हेलो.
हाँ, आपकी आवाज आ रही है सर. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कॉल करने के लिए. आप अपना क्वेश्चन कीजिए प्लीज सर.
या थैंक यू सो मच सर. सर सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको थैंक्स बोलना चाहूंगा. एक बहुत ही शानदार टॉपिक पर आप आज का ये प्रोग्राम लेकर आए हैं.
थैंक यू सर.
और डॉक्टर साहब, मेरा एक प्रश्न है. जैसे पहले डाटा कलेक्शन में हमारे जो रिसर्चर्स होते थे वो फील्ड में जाते थे, क्वेश्चनियर लोगों से भरवाते थे अपने रेस्पोंडेंट्स से. लेकिन 2020 में जब कोरोना आया तो कोरोना के बाद से रिसर्च में डाटा कलेक्शन का थोड़ा सा स्टाइल बदल गया और गूगल फॉर्म वगैरह से ऑनलाइन माध्यमों से जो है रेस्पॉन्सेस कलेक्ट करना शुरू कर दिया गया.
जी जी.
तो क्या गूगल फॉर्म से जो हम डाटा कलेक्शन करते हैं रिसर्च में, इज इट 100% ऑथेंटिक एंड एक्सेप्टेबल? थैंक यू सो मच सर.
ओके,
थैंक यू सर फॉर अ क्वेश्चन. नाउ सुनिए प्लीज.
या अशोक शर्मा जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद क्वेश्चन करने के लिए. बहुत ही जेन्युइन क्वेश्चंस और वेरी रेलिवेंट कंटेम्पररी क्वेश्चन इन्होंने पूछा है. मैं इसका आंसर करना चाहूंगा. देखिए, रिसर्च इज ऑल अबाउट द प्रोसेस एज आई टोल्ड यू एट द बिगिनिंग. द थिंग इज दैट हाउ रिसर्चर इज इफेक्टिवली फॉलोइंग द प्रोसेस. डेफिनेटली एट द टाइम ऑफ कोविड के समय में ये एक अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं थी कि हम डायरेक्ट इंटरेक्ट करें अपने पार्टिसिपेंट से जिस पर हम रिसर्च कर रहे हैं. डायरेक्ट इंटरेक्ट करना एक हमारी लिमिटेशंस थी. दिस लिमिटेशन somehow managed by the software which is Google Form and any software that through which we virtually connect with the participants. But definitely it's not pure. So for the survey, for the survey level, at the level of survey research, when we do survey research where we have to gather data to know about their status only, then at one extent this kind of technique we can apply like through Google Form. But when you are doing a very extensive research, then the Google Form would not be applicable. Similarly, if you are doing experimental design, then it would not be possible to send a Google Form to the your participants or your subject or your sample and gather data. Maybe who is filling those data you are not aware of it. So the purification of a step in your research would determine how effectively you have carried out research. If you have opportunity to interact with the participants, first you should go with those options.
Sorry to interpret. मुझे लगता है वो जैसे कोविड का एग्जाम्पल देंगे. कोविड में एक ऐसा इंसिडेंट आ गया था, हम जा नहीं सकते थे फील्ड में. तो डॉक्टर शर्मा पूछना चाह रहे थे कि वो उसकी ऑथेंटिसिटी को हम लोग कैसे मेजर करेंगे. जो बच्चे ने गूगल फॉर्म भरा है तो वो कितने एक्यूरेट है, तो हाउ वी गोइंग टू असेस दैट एक्यूरेसी?
या नहीं, ये क्वेश्चन बिल्कुल एक्यूरेसी की बात सही है. देखिए, रिसर्च में एक क्वेश्चन आता है जेन्युइनिटी की, इथिकल प्रिंसिपल्स की. सो सम ऑफ द वे if the person is cheating or not doing research genuinely, there's always a possibility. But genuinity can be cross-checked with the uniformity of data. So if the data is not uniform, very extracted, very non-uniform, that also gives a glimpse like the subject has not filled the data properly, or maybe the data is tampered or somewhere else. There are good statistical technique through which we can, at one extent, we can get into attention like whether the data is properly filled by the subject or not. Because we have a kind of a statistical notion that the data is normally distributed or a kind of things we do. So genuinity is one of the concern. Through genuinity we should follow the research and try to fulfill the overall observation. Google Form is one of the means, but we should not depend totally on the Google Form. If you have opportunity to interact with the participant, you should first opt this and then at one extent you can do at one level.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर अश्वनी, आपने बहुत ही सरल तरीके से लगता है कि डॉक्टर शर्मा का सवाल का आंसर दिया. नाउ वी हैव डिफरेंट नंबर्स ऑफ टूल्स, लाइक वी हैव ऑडियो विजुअल टूल्स फॉर डाटा कलेक्शन. Now, the next step come upon the tools and techniques of data collection. As you know, that we have interview schedule, we have observation, we have case study method, we have ethnographic method also. So, may I just request you to throw some light on this in a limited word, like what is interview schedule, what is observation, all these things, like please.
Yeah, of course. So whenever we go for the research is somehow based upon the how you observe your data. So but observation is a very common process we do in our day-to-day life. But the common observation and scientific observation has different meaning. In the scientific observation, we do very significant, very following the steps. Like suppose there are two terms that you have mentioned, like participate observation, non-participate observation. So when suppose you have to study about the society or a certain social group where how they live in the society, you want to observe their habitat or maybe their way of living, their culture. So you can't directly ask these questions to them कि आप बताइए कि आपको आप कल्चर में कैसा. Definitely they would be in position to answer those questions. But if you want to observe it directly, then you must be participate in the society, and you can live in the society, you can live in those culture, and you can with the involvement you can gather the data. But it has limitation, everybody is aware. Similarly, for non-participant observation, like you want to study about what happening when the leisure classes is there in the classroom, then you can place a CCTV camera over there, and you can observe when the classroom is vacant, means there is no teacher in the classroom, what sort of behavior the children's display. So this is called non-participant. Similarly, there are good number of observation technique that we have. Because of the limitation of time, I would not be in position to.
So thank you Dr. Ashwini for focusing on research. You बहुत ही सरल तरीके से आपने रिसर्च के बारे में बताया. आपने बताया कि टॉपिक का सिलेक्शन कैसे करना चाहिए, रिसर्च प्रपोजल क्या होता है, आपने सैम्पलिंग के बारे में बताया, आपने रिसर्च डिजाइन के बारे में बताया, आपने टूल्स एंड टेक्निक्स के बारे में बताया. आशा करते हैं व्हाटएवर थिंग वी हैव लर्न अबाउट रिसर्च, और एनईपी का मैंडेट भी है कि रिसर्च कल्चर डेवलप किया जाए हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस में. आशा करते हैं कि जो भी हमने यहाँ डिस्कस किया हमें लर्नर्स को अच्छा लगा होगा, और नेक्स्ट सेशन में हम लोग टाइप्स और रिसर्च पर डिस्कस करेंगे. थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू डॉक्टर सोनी. थैंक यू.